Lesson 8, polynomials, graphing linear equations, and the intercept-slope method. First thing that we're going to talk about is polynomials. All right, what is a polynomial? A polynomial is an algebraic expression with one or more variables having only terms with real number coefficients and a whole number power of variables. Basically, it's variables and coefficients where all of the coefficients are real numbers and all of the variables are taken to whole number powers, not fractional powers, not decimal powers. Okay? So it's an algebraic expression with real number coefficients and whole number powers of variables. There are three types of polynomials. First one is a monomial. All right, a monomial is a one-term polynomial, such as 2x. It's just one term. A binomial is a two-term polynomial, such as 2x plus 7y. And a trinomial is a three-term polynomial, consisting of three terms, such as 2x plus 7y plus 8c. All right, so a polynomial is an algebraic expression with a real number coefficient and a whole number power of variables, and there are three different types: monomials, binomials, and trinomials. That's all that we're going to touch on as far as common polynomials goes. We'll talk about factoring polynomial functions and completing the square and quadratic formula with polynomial functions. But let's get into graphing linear equations. In graphing linear equations, we're going to actually be using 5 steps to graph them. As we go through these steps, we're also going to be doing an example out to the side so you can see it done step by step. And then I'll have you do an example on your own. All right, so there's our steps. Here is our example. All right, step 1, you want to solve the equation for y. Solve the equation for y. So in our equation, 2x plus 3y equals 6. We want to solve for y. By doing that, we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. So our equation now is 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. And then we want to divide by 3 to get y by itself. So now we have y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. All right, so we have solved our equation for y. The second step is to make a table or a t-chart. And we want to select values for x. I would always recommend selecting at least 3. And I always try to do -1, 0, and 1. All right, so we're going to make a t-chart where we've got x values and y values, and we're going to select values for x. All right, step 3, use the values for x in the equation to solve for y. All right, so use the x values to solve for y in the equation. So let's go and solve. Let's start with our first value of x. X is equal to -1. Alright, so if we're to substitute that into our equation, we have negative 2/3 times negative 1 plus 2. If we were to solve that out, we would get that y is equal to 2/3 plus 2, so y is equal to 2 2/3. Or if you want to write it as 8/3, that would be fine too. If x is equal to 0, we would substitute 0 in. 0 times the negative is 0 plus 2 would just be 2, so y is equal to 2. And if we were to plug positive 1 in for x, negative 2/3 times positive 1 would be negative 2/3. Negative 2/3 plus 2 is 1 1/3, or 4/3. All right, so we have solved for values of y. Step 4, graph the ordered pairs and make a line. Alright, we're going to go ahead and take this and get rid of it. So we have a little bit more room. Alright, we want to graph the ordered pairs. So we're going to draw an xy coordinate. Okay, remember this is the x, this is the y. We want to graph them. Keep in mind numbers to the left are negative. Numbers to the right are positive. Numbers above the origin are positive. And numbers below the origin are negative. Alright, so we want to graph these ordered pairs. First one we have negative 1 and 2 2/3. There's the first. 0, 2. Then we have 1 and 1 1/3. Alright, so there are our dots. We go ahead and connect them to make our line. And finally, step 5 is to label the line. And we're going to label the line with the equation. Okay, so we are going to label our line here. This is line y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. All right, and that is graphing linear equations. Let's go ahead and try one more. We'll do this one together. We have y equals negative 3x minus 3. All right, conveniently, step 1 is already taken care of for us. We don't have to solve the equation for y, it's already done. But we do want to make a table with our x and y, and we want to choose values for x. Again, I'm going to choose negative 1, 0, and 1. You can choose whatever numbers you want, but keep in mind you need to graph them, so they should be reasonable. All right, now we're going to substitute those values in to solve for y. If I'm substituting in negative 1, negative 3 times negative 1 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. So when x is negative 1, y is 0. If I'm going to substitute in 0 for x, negative 3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. And then if I'm going to substitute 1 in for x, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Minus 3 would be negative 6. All right, so we have filled in our table, we've solved for our values. The next step is to graph our ordered pairs. All right, so we're going to make our graph. Remember, x is the one right to left, y is up and down. Okay, when we're graphing, the first one we're graphing is x is negative 1, y is 0. So we go over to negative 1, 0. All right, the next one is 0, negative 3. And then we have 1, negative 6. Connect the dots to make our line. And then we follow our last step by labeling our line with the equation. This is y equals negative 3x minus 3. Okay? That is graphing linear equations. I'm going to give you one more. This one I want you to try on your own. We'll check it when we come back into class. All right, we have 3x plus 4y equals 12. Okay, so go ahead and try that one on your own, and we will check it when we come back into class.